respect Trey's time as well. So the first item for this morning is just to remind everybody that we are recording these sessions, so keep that in mind. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name, Trey. Murray. Trey Murray is with us today. He's a chemistry major, and he's also an officer in the ACS Student Affiliate Group that we talked a little bit about last time. So Trey's going to talk to you a little bit about ACS and why joining the ACS Student Affiliates would certainly benefit you. And I just want to let everybody know that next week we'll be talking about the participation assignments. And one of the things that I do allow is that for one of your participation assignments would be attending one of the ACS Student Affiliate meetings. And so I hope you'll tell them a little bit about when you meet and the activities and that kind of thing. So I'm going to turn it over to Trey. We'll take about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, and feel free to ask him any questions that you may have about the organization. Trey, sure.
All right, hi, I'm Trey Murray. I am a junior biochem major. I am vice president of the ACS Student Affiliate, and the president is Damian Cooper, but he's in chem literature right now. So the ACS Student Affiliate is basically a group for us chem majors and like adjacent like chem minors, like polymer science majors to come together and basically just like talk about chemistry. And mainly we're talking about like future prospects, growing your network. Sometimes we might do a little bit of like outreach. So we'll be like, hey, we heard you wanted to do something with medical, so we'll like guide you, maybe bring in somebody who knows about like the Forest General like internship like thing. And we've also in the past talked to like speakers that have came and spoken to the university for like seminars. And I remember one time we talked to somebody who did a little bit with like making the ACS like exams, and how she would tell us how like for them a good test means most people get like in the 50th percentile. And we also haven't made a time yet because we wanted to wait till after we spoke with y'all, because on your flyer there should be a QR code for you to scan to join the group, and we're going to try and choose a time which like best fits everyone. It'll probably be something like once a month we'll meet, or maybe more than that, because I remember when the grad students was talking to Damian and I about us possibly talking to one of the presenters that should be here. I think next week is the first one, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because I have to go to that seminar. Yeah, so, and basically we're just gonna learn about different things. We've done times where we did a grad school panel, and we're probably gonna do that again, because we had someone who did research, someone going for licensure, and then someone from like a grad admissions to basically tell us like how that process would go, and give us like a nice little timeline, and we were able to ask questions, because like I know probably like a lot of you might be doing med school, but like once you get into like a research lab, you might change your mind, because that's what happened to one of the other biochem majors, Rosemary. And plus it's just a way for us to like build like a small little community, because I'm not even gonna lie, our major's kind of hard. I'm in analytical chemistry right now, and so far we're good, but I can already tell it's about to get like very technical. And it's nice to have like other people in your major to fall back on to like help you out, and as well like kind of like say like you're struggling in something and you can't get to your professor, go to ACS. Like we all have to take analytical chemistry, we all have to do basically the same classes, and it's basically like a way for us to like kind of just like mingle with each other and not just be like random strangers on campus. Does anybody have any questions?
Trey, could you talk just a little bit about how your experience was when you first joined ACS? I mean, did you get to meet people that you probably wouldn't have otherwise met, and has it formed any friendships and that kind of thing?
Because I joined ACS, I remember that's when I got pretty like tight with my TA that I had for my chem lab, because he was the president at the time. He kind of like, because like going to the meetings, I was able to meet different speakers and like hear about like their research, because when I went to ask, there were, one was over, I think it was like an organic polymer when it came to like COVID. That was one of the speakers, and that was actually quite interesting. as well as I was able to like meet other people in my major, because most of the time I would just come to this class, hang out with my friends, and not know anybody else in my major. But because I did that, I was able to build relationships. I was able to like kind of start networking, because I'm like, because of ACS, I'm about to start shadowing in a research lab that I possibly want to join, and I might be able to join it next semester. You know, just little things like that that you wouldn't think about are actually like quite helpful. And we might also, I believe, do, because I remember somebody brought up, they want to know how to do a CV. So we're probably going to do like a little CV session, because I know I'm probably going to need that as well, just to make sure like you can like properly work through your field.
Any questions from anybody? So Trey, can you tell us a little bit about how the meetings go? I mean, are there foods and snacks, or is it?
So usually with the meetings, we'll probably get like something small, you know, like juice and a cookie. Might just randomly get, once I think they got chicken nuggets from McDonald's and some juice. And we're basically just gonna meet. We're gonna have a topic that we're gonna talk about. And then we're also gonna ask you guys, is there anything you want to know about the major? Whether it be like, oh, what careers can I go to? Like instead of just doing like medical field, you could be a water chemist. You can go into industry. And that also you can go into like regulatory affairs. And when it comes to regulatory affairs, basically you're looking over what they're making and making sure it's within like legal means and like safe consumption, and that it would go through with the FDA. And also I believe you're also like answering questions people have about the medications.
Okay. Any questions?
Which building would you go to on like the group?
Oh, we're gonna probably meet in this building, but in room 411.
Upstairs, chemistry kind of hoards that room a little bit for a variety of things.
Yeah, because I'm in that room probably, on my lecture days, I'm in there at least twice a day.
And when you start to get into some of your upper level classes, a lot of them will be held in 411.
Because Damien's in there for 3 classes straight. And then we're in there also on Friday for our seminar class.
Was it like anybody can go there, like even if you're not in ACS?
Usually, yeah, anybody can go, but mainly we just want to kind of like just keep it to like chem majors and like adjacent majors and stuff like that, like chem minors.
Yes, sir, because I'm a chem major and I might need some help.
Is there a fee to join the student affiliates?
I believe it's like $5, but
Okay.
we're not going to be collecting that until like later in the semester.
So go early. You guys use that to buy the food and stuff like
Yeah.
that y'all have to do, so okay. That's good. Any other questions for Trey? All right, well, Trey, thanks for coming by, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
I gotta go finish some stuff for Team of Masterson's lab.
Oh, okay, good deal. For my better half. Yep. All right. So I will scan this, put this in Canvas so that it's available to you as well. I'm a big supporter of the ACS Student Affiliate Group, so I encourage you to at least attend one meeting as your activities, participation assignment, again, which we'll start talking about next week. So let's get into what we're going to be doing today. So there's a number of things that I want to talk about, and we're going to talk about the personalized semester by semester guide that you have to work on. That's already assigned to you in Canvas, but we'll save that for just a moment. I want to talk about a few things that we pulled from the American Chemical Society magazine, C&E News. And so I put in this policy concentrates piece. I'm going to try to put in different pieces. Some of you may be interested in policy, some of you may be interested in industry, some of you may be interested in academia, some of you may be interested in a variety of different things. Some of you may not even know what you're exactly interested in yet. And so I'm trying to give you kind of a hodgepodge of different things. But ACS does have an arm to it that is heavily involved in policy. And the American Chemical Society headquarters is in Washington, D.C. for a reason. They actually interact with Congress on quite a few items to try to, put the chemistry industry on the map in terms of any bills that are being considered in Congress to make sure that the U.S. economy includes anything that they're doing for the economy or things like that, includes the perspective of the chemical industry. And I think that's very important. So you see in the business side, policy concentrates, right? Chemical research vital to the U.S. economy. So the chemical enterprise is very, very important on the overall economy of the United States. So if you look and read that little piece, right, you're looking at over $5 trillion of economic activity in just the chemical industry, over 4 million jobs across the United States that are either directly related to chemistry or chemistry adjacent, as Trey was using the term. And so this is a huge chunk of the economy. It's a big part of the economy here in the South, right? Just offshore, we have a lot of oil wells. Chemistry is, in large part these days, especially organic chemistry, reliant on feedstocks. And those feedstocks largely come from fossil resources like oil and coal. And so it's a big part of this industry. I mean, you can go along the coastline of Louisiana, Mississippi, and you can find companies like Chevron and other chemical companies, Halliburton. And you all might think of those as quote unquote oil companies, but they employ a lot of chemists, chemical engineers, civil engineers. It's very much so tied to the chemical industry. Without those feedstocks, we can't make the things that you all are using all the time. Your synthetic fibers in your shirts, clothing, your devices that you all use, your television screens, et cetera, all really do originate from these feedstocks. And these feedstocks are important to the chemical industry, and of course it's important to our economy here in the Gulf South region. So all along the Gulf South, where we have a lot of offshore oil wells, we're not just hiring people to go out and actually extract the oil, we're actually hiring a lot of people to convert it into useful things, right? So when you pull oil out of the ground, it's by itself, it's kind of useless. It has to be converted into something much more value added. And so that's an important piece. So many of you may be interested in ultimately going into the business side of chemistry, and that's okay. There's a lot of people that will get a chemistry major and minor in business and go off and work in the chemical industry. Not as a bench chemist, not as somebody that's actually in the laboratory doing experiments, but as a business person. That happens quite a bit. Also wanted to show a couple of other things. So Bertagnolli has been named to lead the National Cancer Institute. You all can imagine why that's important, right? So here we have an individual definitely qualified to lead the Cancer Institute. And what I'll tell you is that the National Cancer Institute also pumps a lot of money into chemistry. The National Institutes of Health many years ago had a leader who came out and said, the problem with disease and disease prevention isn't knowing what the diseases are, isn't knowing any of the biology really. We can know that pretty quick now. The biggest issue is actually being able to make the drugs to treat, and that's all on the chemistry side of things. And so if you think about just COVID-19, right, we were able to determine quite quickly what the genome sequence of that virus was pretty quick. And then it took time for them to actually develop the vaccine, which was really all kind of chemistry side of things. And they were able to ramp that up and develop that quite quickly. And that, although that's not cancer, right, it's the same kind of thing. So having people in these agencies that can take charge and lead really well is very, very important as well. For those of you interested in the environment, they're showing that there is a need for sunscreen chemicals to have some type of ecological risk assessment because a lot of these are what they call nanoparticles, and we know that nanoparticles can create health hazards. And think about it, you're putting on sunscreen, you get into the water, you're actually releasing this stuff into the environment, and it could have an impact. So they're starting to pay a little bit more attention to those types of things. Of course, it's very healthy for us to wear sunscreen, of course, because that's the only way that we have to protect ourselves, other than staying inside, which really isn't an option for most people, nor would that be very pleasant, right? To protect ourselves from skin cancers, especially for folks like me who happen to have vitiligo when I'm out in in the sun. I'm supposed to be wearing sunscreen, and I don't wear it as well as I should. But you know, a very important area of chemistry. There's actually a lot of research that goes on in making things that can provide protective coatings for people when they're out in the environment, not just for sunscreen, but for other things as well. And then I thought it was also kind of interesting that inventors must be human. So if you're interested in things like along business of getting patents and things like that, that was kind of a little bit of an interesting read. So these are just some things over the last month that, you know, has risen up to the level of importance that the American Chemical Society felt like they needed to include in the news portion of Chemical and Engineering News. There we go. So you're going to have a notebook reflection again this week. The notebook reflection, I haven't posted it yet, but it is going to be based on this ACS website, okay? So I want you to go to the ACS website for undergraduate chemistry students, and I want you to peruse it. There's a lot of resources here for you. As I said last time, you all really are at the beginning of your career. Whatever that is, if you want to go to med school and become a physician, you want to actually become a research chemist, whatever the case may be, or, you know, in business, you're really starting your first step towards your career. And I can tell you that the students who take advantage of resources like this and start to network early on do better in their future career than if you don't. And I know it's difficult for a lot of people to do. A lot of people are introverted. A lot of people are shy. A lot, you know, and I count myself in that group. I didn't do as much when I was an undergraduate student, and I wish, looking back now, that I wish I had have. So I highly recommend that you use all of these resources. Go to the American Chemical Society Student Affiliates meetings. Get involved. Start meeting with speakers that we actually bring to campus to talk about their area of research, their area of expertise. You will find things that interest you. Early on, you won't be able to understand or follow all of their work, and that's okay. It's like learning a foreign language, right? How many people have actually had a class in foreign language? Raise your hands, right? The first day you walked in and the teacher started speaking to you in that language, right? It was confusing, but you have to immerse yourself in the language, and the easiest way to immerse yourself in the language of chemistry is to actually go and hear people talk about chemistry. You don't have to understand everything when you're starting out. You will eventually work your way up to where your understanding is much, much better. I promise you. Just like when you took that foreign language course, by the end of the semester, you were starting to understand a few of the words and be able to put together sentences and paragraphs and so on and so forth. So I would highly recommend you go through and look at things like student chapters and attending an ACS meeting. This is a very important thing. We have ACS meetings at the local, regional, and national level. So from time to time, there are actually local ACS meetings that happen within the state that may actually be, you know, hosted here on campus, and you can just easily go to those types of things and see what people are doing. This is a great way to network. When you all decide to start thinking about your future employment, if you're going to go into the chemical industry, you will definitely want to attend an ACS meeting because they have all of the big employers in the chemical field attending these ACS meetings. They actually have a job fair where you can sign up, go in, meet with people, interview, that kind of thing. I did that when I was a postdoc, and it was an interesting experience. I actually had interviews with Merck. I had interviews with Albemarle in Louisiana. I got a job offer from Albemarle. Ultimately, I didn't want to go into industry. I wanted to be in academia, so that's why I'm here. But I thought I would go and participate. So it's an interesting thing that you can do while you're at an ACS meeting. And while you're a student, going to an ACS meeting is cheap. They don't charge you a whole lot to go, and quite frequently, if you're doing research with a faculty member here on campus, they will pay your way to go. So, you know, also think about the study abroad program. For those of you who are thinking about maybe spending a semester somewhere else, you know, they have some information here on how you can study abroad and study chemistry abroad. And so a lot of interesting information, good information on careers, how to get experience. A lot of helpful tips here. So again, I want you to go to this webpage, peruse it, click on the links. There will be some questions for your notebook reflection this week that'll be due on Friday, and I'll get that posted later this afternoon. All right. There is a link that will take you to your degree plans. You all are going to build your own personalized semester by semester guide that is based on the degree plan of your whatever major you're in, right? So we have chemistry, ACS certified chemistry. I just call that chemistry. We have chemistry, biochemistry. I just call that biochemistry. And then we have, of course, chemistry licensure. And I think there's maybe one person in here that was thinking about becoming a teacher, right? So you might want to be thinking about the chemistry licensure plan. So these are the majors within our school. These are the 3 chemistry majors that we offer. If you're interested in minors, a lot of our chemistry majors will get a math minor or a physics minor because you got to take some math and physics anyway, something to think about. But what you're going to do is you're going to go in here and you're going to click on the major and it's going to take you to the degree plan. Now what you'll see is the actual BS degree requirements. That's what we call the degree plan. You'll see that our major requires 120 hours minimum, right? You'll see that we also have a semester guide. I would start there to look at it to give you an idea of how you need to plan out your semesters. However, you can't just take this semester guide and turn it into me. None of you, or very few of you, will actually be able to follow this semester guide exactly. And why is that? Many of you come in with AP credit. Many of you come in with dual credit. Many of you come in with ACT scores that put you in a different math placement. Okay? And so you'll have to look at this and figure out kind of what the courses are and when we typically ask you to take them. And then you're going to have to modify it so that it fits your situation. What you'll see is that first year, freshman year, we kind of expect you to start in calculus. But I know that half of you probably didn't start in calculus, and that's okay. Okay, so, but we expect you to be in Chemistry 106, the lab, of course you're in Chemistry 108, and you need to take English Composition 1, and then select something within this area of electives for the general ed. Okay, so I would look at the semester by semester guide to kind of get a feel for how things pair up and how we kind of recommend it before you actually start developing your own semester by semester guide template. Okay? Also pay attention to the degree requirements page. So this really is a lot more lengthy, right? So basically at the end of the day, your personalized semester by semester guide needs to be compatible with this. What does that mean? That means that every required course on the degree plan has to be on your personalized semester by semester guide. Every hour that you need to get up to that 120 hours, your personalized semester by semester guide needs to equal 120 hours, maybe even a little more depending on your situation, right? And so you need to go through this, and you'll notice that these are all hyperlinked, and you need to click through these. So GEC 01, what does GEC mean? Gen Ed, yeah, it's the general education curriculum. It's what everybody does regardless of major, right? And we say at this institution, everybody has to have English Comp 1 and English Comp 2, right? And so what you'll see is you'll see this, right? You'll notice that there's nothing really listed here as a prerequisite to this course. So this is kind of where we expect you to start. But this is one of the courses that actually throw a lot of people off too, because many of you have AP credit or dual enrollment credit for an English class, which means you're not going to start in English 101. You'll probably start in English 102, right? So there's several of you probably in that boat right now. So that's why you have to build your own personalized semester by semester guide. What you'll notice under English Comp 2, English 102, it says that the prerequisite is English 101. So as you're building your personalized semester by semester guide, you're going to tell us what that course is a prerequisite to, okay? So if you are taking English 101, where you put English 101 in your personalized semester guide, you will tell me that that course is a prerequisite to English 102. But it's also a prerequisite to other things. Anybody else know what it's a prerequisite to? Turns out it's a prerequisite to your PChem class. PChem is a writing intensive area, and what you'll see is English 101 and 102 are prerequisites before you can get into this class. Okay? Yes, you're going to go into Chemistry 461 in your junior year, most likely. You'll have long since taken English 101 and 102. It's not going to be a big issue to you. But what you need to know is that the skills that you learned in those two English classes are going to be important in physical chemistry because you're going to do a lot of writing in PChem, okay, both in the lab and in the class. Every major has a writing intensive course. Okay? We picked PChem for that particular purpose. So, as chemistry majors, GECO2 is actually very easy for you all. You all got to take Chemistry 106, you got to take Chemistry 107. Chemistry 107 is not on the list, I'm sorry, but you have to take Chemistry 106, right? So you're good there. And you all have to take physics, right? You have to have at least 2 courses in physics, and what you'll see is that either Physics 111, 112, or Physics 201 and 202 help you satisfy that. So just by the virtue of being in this major, you're going to satisfy GECO2 with plenty of hours to meet the gen ed requirement for the institution. Anybody know what the difference between Physics 111 and Physics 201 are? Calculus, that's right. So this is with calculus, this is without calculus. And so when you read the descriptions, you'll actually see that they're actually fairly similar. So a lot of the biochem majors will just take the Physics 111 or Physics 112 sequence, and that's perfectly fine. That's trig based. But a lot of the chemistry majors, because chemistry majors typically will want to go on to graduate school, we highly recommend that you take the calculus based physics. It's just a little more in depth on the calculus. It's going to prepare you a little bit better for graduate school. Having said that, if you end up taking the 111, 112, you'll be fine too. It's just the Physics 201 and 202 does a little better job of integrating the math and the physics together, which will be important as you think about a career in graduate school. Okay. GECO3, this is the humanities section. Everybody has to take 9 hours of humanities. Everybody has to take English 203, world literature. But some of you may have dual enrollment credit for this. I see a lot of students come in that have taken this at one of the community colleges as dual enrollment for their high school career. You may already have it, and so again, you would not have to complete that while you're here. But that's going to throw off, again, that normal semester by semester guide that I showed you, right? So everybody's got to take a World Lit, and then everybody has to select 2 courses from this list, and 1 history is required. So you have to have something that says HIS. You can either take History 101 or 102, and then you have to have at least one of these other classes. And what I will say, when I was in college, I took an Introduction to Philosophy course. I would highly recommend that everybody in the sciences take history over the other courses. There's nothing wrong with the other courses. If they interest you, by all means take them. But I think philosophy ties so well into the sciences, because what is philosophy? Philosophy is how we know what we know. There's a lot of metacognition within philosophy. How do we know things is what philosophers really get at, in my opinion. And so when I was in that philosophy course, it really reinforced a lot of the things that I was learning in general in science. Okay, so I would like to think that philosophy is actually kind of the bedrock for all of this, for the scientific method. You can really test that and get into that quite easily there. So I highly recommend Philosophy 151 in this section, but of course you can take any of them that you want. GECO4 is the aesthetic values, right? You're going to have a course in some type of art, right? So Art 130 if you're interested in art appreciation. Yes, ma'am.
Just going back to what you said about the electives, if our degree guide doesn't offer offer like the introduction to philosophy or any elective that we would want, would we still be allowed to take it in order to replace an elective that they have listed, or do we have to like stick to what they offer for that in particular?
Well, what I'm talking about here is electives within the gen ed. There's also degree electives, which we'll talk about in a moment. Those are different electives. So you have to have so many elective courses in chemistry that we specify. So these are gen ed electives, so to speak.
But, well, for the gen ed electives, you would be able to choose like
Yeah.
ones that aren't, okay.
For the gen ed electives, you can choose anything on that list. I'm just making a recommendation, for example, of philosophy. It's what I took. I found it beneficial. I'm trying to share my experience with you, but some of you may be very interested in religion and want to take the religion class. Nothing wrong with that. But I just find that philosophy course fits really nice with the sciences, in my opinion, or a course like that. So some of you may be interested in dance, some of you may be interested in enjoyment of music or theater, right? You can take any one of these classes. Most of our students end up taking Music 165, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what the vast majority of students end up taking. A lot of young folks like music, right? So you end up taking a music class. I had a music class when I was an undergraduate many years ago, and I enjoyed it. It was where before I walked into that enjoyment of music class at the University of Arkansas, all I was listening to was popular music, right? Whatever it was on the radio. I now enjoy classical music. I enjoy other types of music because I took that particular class. I think it is valuable to be exposed to those types of things. But if you're interested in dance appreciation is a very good class. I know some of the faculty in dance, they do a really good job. And I also know some faculty in theater that also do it. I don't know as many people in art, but I know that I hear a lot of good things about that art appreciation class. So any of those classes are really going to be there to help enrich your cultural experiences. GECO 5, that's the social and behavioral sciences. You got to have 6 hours of this, okay? You can take any 2 courses in the chemistry or biochemistry majors. I do believe in the licensure, if you're thinking about teaching, there's some in here that you do have to select, like the psychology, I believe you have to go into the licensure program. So keep that in mind. Your degree may have some limits here. Well, I shouldn't say limits. You can take any of them you want, but you may have to go back and take another one if you don't. So I'm trying to give you the overall best opportunity so that you don't have to take more courses. If you're thinking about going to medical school, be very careful about which 2 of these you pick. There's 2 on this list that will help prepare you for the MCAT exam, and they expect you to have. And that's sociology and psychology. So if you're thinking about going to medical school, you need to be thinking about soc and psych, okay? Can you take any other and still get your chemistry degree? Absolutely, but it's not going to line up with the expectations for med school. So think about that and think about that early. So these are courses that you might kind of gravitate toward. These are actually the courses that I encourage chemistry students to take over the others. And the reason is because these are social sciences. And it gives you kind of another flavor. We're in the physical sciences, the natural sciences, if you will, and they're on the social science side. We both use the scientific method, but to a little different degree. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of a broader understanding of that. Okay? But certainly anthropology is an excellent course. If you're interested just in general in wellness, certainly HHS 100 would be a good one. If you're interested in maybe being a business minor, you might want to think about something like Eco 101, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so again, you have to select 2 courses here. You may be enrolled in one of those right now, I don't know. Math. Gen Ed for math basically says you have to have math 100 or higher. You are not going to have to worry about your Gen Ed math in this major, right? You're going to have, at a minimum, you're going to have Calculus 1 and Calculus 2, regardless of your major, okay? If you're chemistry, you're going to have Cal 1, Cal 2, and Cal 3. Biochemistry is going to have Cal 1 and Cal 2. And if your ACT math placement puts you in trig or college algebra, you're going to have those courses before you get to Cal 1 and Cal 2. And don't worry about that. I mean, when I went to college, I was placed in what we called pre-cal, which is the combination of algebra and trigonometry together. We don't do that here, but we did that where I went. So I wasn't placed directly into Cal 1. And it's perfectly fine. You learn what you need to learn, you'll move on, get the math that you need, because all of that math really does tie into your experiences in physics and your experiences that you're going to have in physical chemistry and to a lesser extent, inorganic if you're a chemistry major. So math is going to be a big part of your entire major. You're always going to have to do some type of arithmetic, if not calculus, as you move up through the curriculum. Okay. Again, GEC 07, this is required of everybody at the institution. You have to have a writing intensive course or requirement. We do this by doing this in the major. Not all majors at the institution do this. Some majors actually farm it out to another department. A lot of students will actually take English 333, which is called technical writing. But instead of us having you just go and do that, we decided we'll just use physical. You have to take physical chemistry. To understand physical chemistry, you have to do a lot of writing anyway. We'll just make that our writing intensive course. So you're actually getting a 2-for-1 kind of deal out of being a chemistry major there, right? So you got to take physical chemistry 1, physical chemistry 1 lab, and those have English 101 and 102 prerequisites. So that's a GEC 07. GEC 08 is the speaking intensive requirement. So at the institution, we think that being able to get up and talk is going to be very important. Nothing is more true than in the sciences. Science is about doing science, of course, but also being able to communicate that science. And scientists need to be able to stand up like I'm doing right now and talk to somebody about science for 15, 20 minutes. Whether you go into industry, whether you go to med school, whether you go to whatever the case may be, you're going to have good oral and written communication skills. And this is our way of trying to enhance your oral communication skills. And what we recommend in our major is that you take public speaking or professional communication. We don't teach those in our curriculum. We didn't feel like we would be the best people to teach that, so we actually did farm that out to the School of Media and Communication. So, at some point you're going to have to take one of these speaking intensive courses, which means you're going to have to get up in front of somebody and talk. Now don't think, oh, well, if I switch my major, I can get out of that because I don't like public speaking. Every major at the institution has to have a speaking intensive requirement, okay? It is not the funnest thing for most people to do, but it is, you'll get over it. It's like anything else with practice, and you'll do just fine. Believe it or not, when I was in your shoes, I was very introverted. I was very shy. I didn't like to get up in public speak. I would do all that kind of stuff. And today I do a better job. I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I'm certainly not perfect, but I can get up and speak to a group of 300-400 people without any problem. I used to teach organic chemistry when it was much larger than it is today, and we'd have almost 200 students in there. Nothing bothered me about walking in, talking to 200 people, answering questions, doing the whole thing, in part because I did have a speaking intensive experience in college, which helped lay the groundwork for that. Certainly didn't get me where I completely needed to be, but helped get me there. Your capstone requirement in this major is research. If you're in chemistry or biochemistry, you're going to at least do 1 semester of research. And it is important to know that your capstone is both speaking intensive and writing intensive. You're going to write a substantial report, and you're going to give at least 2 graded speeches, one of which must be public. Okay? That's a capstone requirement at the institution. We do that through research. Okay? So you're going to have to, at some point, find a mentor to do research with, myself or some other faculty member on campus, to at least spend 1 semester in research. Okay? I highly recommend, for those of you who want to go on and do graduate school, that you get involved in research earlier rather than later. The more research you do along your career pathway, the better you're going to be prepared for a career in chemical research. And there are other opportunities available to you in terms of competitive awards if you're research active. We'll have somebody come and talk later in, I believe it's early October. They're going to come and talk to you about nationally competitive awards, things that you can apply to that are very prestigious. You're going to be able to get that kind of information, okay? So, about those, and one of them is the Goldwater. We have been very good at this institution about getting students in the sciences Goldwater scholarships. Believe it or not, the University of Southern Mississippi, over the last, I think, 10 years, has generated more Goldwater scholars for this state than Ole Miss and Mississippi State combined. We're the leader. We're the #1 leader in undergraduate research in the state. We pride ourselves on it. We have a center for undergraduate research called the DuPont Center that you all can get involved with, which will actually help you pay for some of the research or help you pay to go to a conference that I was talking about. And during one of our lectures later on, we'll talk about those centers and things that you can get active in as well. But we value research. We think it's important. You need to do at least one semester. Yes?
How would you recommend getting connected to like different mentors or seeing the different projects?
Yeah, that's a good question, and actually you're going to get exposed to that two ways. First and foremost, you're going to get exposed to that through this class. After about mid-September, we will start to have some guest speakers come in and talk to you about their research. I'm hoping to do that face-to-face. The last couple of years with COVID, we've done it by me recording them and then presenting them. But I'd like to have the faculty come in and talk for about 30 minutes with each of you. You know, so that you know that Dr. Rangachari likes to work on things that are related to Alzheimer's disease, or that Dr. Donahue is interested in building molecules through organic chemistry. And so I'll talk to you about my research interests. You will have an opportunity to hear a good number of the faculty research, and that'll give you that opportunity to make that connection. So it's a good question, and it can be kind of nerve-wracking, right? Do you knock on somebody's door and say, "Hey, can I join your lab?" You know, it's kind of an awkward moment, but hopefully this class will serve as the icebreaker to give you that connection. And the second way is through, although Trey didn't mention it, the ACS Student Affiliates quite often does invite faculty members to come to talk to that group about their research. So give you an opportunity to see what they do there as well. Okay. Any other questions about that? All right. So program curriculum, you've got to have all of those courses. And then here in the electives, which is what you were getting at, I think, right? You will take, we ask that you take additional courses in this list to get up to that 120 hours. If you did everything, you'd be at about 95 or 96 hours. I can't remember the exact number. And so you've got room for electives in these majors. Biochemistry, not as much room for electives. Chemistry, much more room for electives. And so for the chemistry students, we encourage you to accept or to do additional courses within this list. So things like spectral elucidation of structure, or if you're thinking about doing research for many semesters, we get you into this 392 Introduction to Research course. It's not the capstone, but it'll get you into a lab. It'll get you started on research. It'll kind of give you so these are things that we suggest and encourage, but you can actually take electives in any department if you want to. A lot of students will take electives in polymer science or biology or physics, but these are the ones that we recommend in chemistry. Any questions about that? So that's the degree plan. Yeah.
I have a question about like joining research as a freshman. So is it or when's the most common like time for an undergrad to join research?
That's a good question. So it depends is the short answer. The real answer is as early as possible is okay. Most people don't do it in their freshman year. And the reason is because a lot of faculty won't take you as a freshman. Most faculty want you to at least have Organic 1 before you get into the lab. Okay, whether it be a regular. Now, having said that, if you're really eager and you go and talk to a faculty member, they're usually going to say, well, okay, if you want to go ahead and get started, you can come in and do some shadowing and learn how we do things. And maybe they're not going to give you a project yet, but get you into the lab and get you involved. That happens a fair amount of time as a freshman. I had a student, her name was Jessica Shackelford. and you'll see a video from her. She was probably one of the most award-winning students I've ever seen in my life. Won just about every award that you could think of here at the institution, and nationally competitive awards. And she started in my lab as a freshman. I mean, but she came to me and bugged me, actually. She said, I want in. And so I said, okay, come in and, we'll kind of get you started, get your feet wet on a few things. And she took off. I mean, she took off like a rocket, and it was great. But most people, it's going to be midway through your sophomore year or the beginning of your junior year is when most of it think about it.
Are there postings to see like when a lab is full, or do we have to or like when a professor's lab is full, or do we have to?
Yeah, we don't have any of that posted on our website, but that's a good idea, actually. I'll get back to you on that, but usually it's just by word of mouth, you meeting with people. When they come and talk, they'll tell you whether or not they're going to have an opening this year or next year. So that'd be a good time to have those conversations. All right, so let's talk about your semester by semester guide. Where am I at? Where'd I go? Here we are. All right. You all have this template. You all have to use the template. There are a lot of rules to this assignment. Part of the assignment is, can you follow the rules? Okay? You have to use the template. So here's an example where I filled it out mythically, okay, for a semester or two, just to give you an idea of what you're going to do. Your first page on your personalized semester by semester plan is going to include your personalized information, your name, your ID, your degree plan. You'll put in your degree plan there, whether or not you're a member of the Honors College, are you seeking to get a minor, who's your advisor, what was your ACT math score, or the SAT math score if you have the equivalent. Do you have any high school AP credits? Did you have any dual enrollment credit? Are you a member of a fraternity or a sorority? Why is that important? Because your advisor is going to look at that and they're going to get to know you just a little bit better to help you put together, to fix your semester by semester guide during your first advising session this fall, okay? If you're involved in a fraternity or sorority, there are going to be times of the year that you're going to be very busy with that, and they need to know that as they're helping you schedule classes. If you have a lot of dual enrollment or AP credit, right, that's going to impact that semester by semester guide. They need to know that so they can know where to place things. So what you're going to do is if you have any high school AP credits, you'll list them here, the courses and their equivalents. I put none, so if you don't have any, that's fine, just put none. You'll list any of your dual enrollment credits, including the institution. So if you did dual enrollment English at William Carey, list it, okay? Whatever it is that you have, you would list there. And then you need to do a paragraph on career plans in relation to the chemistry biochemistry degree. And so I just made something up here, right? I plan to become a practicing chemist and get a job in the petroleum industry. I've always been interested in petroleum and chemistry. The petroleum industry is a cornerstone of my hometown community. And I plan to return and get a job at the local petroleum refinery, yada, 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 yada. You're going to write a good solid paragraph there about what your career plans are and why you chose to be a chemistry, biochemistry major to fulfill those career plans. This has to be on one page by itself, all this first page information. Don't start the next page here. I want you to kill a few trees in this. It's going to be virtual, right? It's in Word, so we're not really killing, but you don't cram things together, okay? This is about how you start to develop professional writing. In professional writing, you leave a lot of white space, believe it or not, in what you're doing. If you cram things up, it gets confusing, and so this is an initial exercise to help you develop that skill. Okay, so that would all be on this one page. The next page would be for the semester that we're in right now, fall of 22. That's the current semester. You will list your courses by prefix, number, title, the number of credit hours, and what this particular course is a prerequisite to. So, based on my mythical ACT score, I had to start in Math 101, college algebra, 3 credit hours, And I know that this class is a prerequisite to TRIG, Math 103. That's what you're gonna have to list. Yes, sir.
What about anything with previous semesters?
So if you had previous semesters, if you're a transfer student,
Yes, sir.
you need to go back in time and do that. I'm doing this as if you were starting as a freshman. So you would list your previous semesters, just like we're doing here, but you would just change the date. Okay? Chemistry 106 is a prerequisite to Chemistry 107. Right? You're in Foundations, which isn't a prerequisite to anything. English 101, which is a prerequisite to English 102. And I should have also listed Chemistry 461. Right? So I listed all the courses that I'm taking. I listed the total credit hours. And then I list on this one page why these courses and time management this semester. I want you to start thinking about, why am I taking the courses that I'm taking this semester? So you will outline why these courses, and saying my advisor told me to is not a rationale, right? Why are you in Chemistry 106? Why are you in Chemistry 108? Why are you in Math 101, right? You start to think about how that all lays out. So you'll write a paragraph on that, and then you'll write a paragraph on time management. And you're going to do that on into the future as well. I want you to think about 2 years from now, what kind of time management am I going to have with the courses that I just listed above? Do I have an easy load this semester, or do I have a tougher load, right? Am I in a fraternity and sorority? Am I involved in other things on campus? How am I going to manage my time? Time management is the number one problem for students to succeed in college. It's not how smart you are. It's not anything else. It's how can you manage your time. If you can manage your time, I know they said on here in a difficult major, the difficult part about chemistry is time management. I promise you. If you can manage your time, you can schedule things well, you can schedule your study time. If you can do time management skills really well, you're going to do well in this major, okay? We will actually have a lecture probably at the end of this month on time management, okay? So some tips on how to better manage your time. But I want you to start thinking about it, okay? So you'll have this time management piece. This will be fall of 2022. This will be what it looks like, and it will all be on this one page. You will then jump into spring of 2023, right? That's this next January. You'll tell me what the courses are. You'll do why these courses. You'll do time management this semester. You'll do that. Then you'll take the next fall and the next spring, and you'll build out your entire career here at Southern Miss to when you graduate. I also have a template for those of you who may be thinking about taking summer classes. Okay? I don't recommend that you take summer classes. I recommend that in the summer, if you want to do anything, think about going and doing an internship. Think about going and doing a research experience at another institution called an REU. We'll talk more about those later. There's a lot of things that you can do in your summers. But many of you may think about using a summer to do X, Y, or Z, maybe to get one of those gen ed courses out of the way. Maybe you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to go back home. There's a community college nearby. I'm going to take my English 203 class there during the summer and complete it before I go back to Southern in the fall. There is nothing wrong with that. Having said that, there's a little warning here, right, about taking summer classes. You actually have to get permission to do that to make sure that those credits will come back and count. So don't go off to a community college in Tennessee or wherever you're from and think, oh, well, I'm just going to take world literature there and I'm going to bring it back. We might look at that and go, that's not our world lit. It doesn't count. That's possible, okay? So what you need to do is work with your advisors on anything that you want to do and bring back, and that's why the warning's there, okay? And we actually have a form that you would fill out with your advisor called permission to transfer. They would work with you on it, and then you have that piece of paper, and then when you come back, if somebody said, I don't think we want to take that anymore, you can say, I got a piece of paper here that says you will. And we will, okay? So anyway, that's the assignment. Again, it's all about the rules. Follow the rules, use the template, don't make stuff up. Make sure you've accounted for every course that is listed as a requirement in your degree plan, Make sure you list the course properly. Tell me what it's a prerequisite to. If you do all of that, you're going to be in good shape. Okay? Then you will have this to take with you to your advising session in October. That's the goal. Okay? So I am not going to grade this by looking at it and saying, oh, you really should be taking this in the fall and you should be taking that in the spring. I'm not going to get, that's what your advisor is going to do with you. They're going to look at that and they're going to say, well, you know, it would probably be better given your schedule if you flip those. And you're going to work with them to build a better semester by semester guide. My goal is that you have a complete semester guide that has everything that you need in it and it looks professional. So that when you go to that first advising session, they're going to look at what you did and they're going to be impressed with how well you put together a document. You cannot do this assignment the day before it's due. This assignment will take you about 8 hours to complete. Okay? Because all the things you're going to look through, making sure and double checking to make sure that everything is prerequisited the right way. Okay? It will take you about that amount of time. Okay? And to make sure that it's pretty. Pretty is important here. Okay? So if you put it in Word and it's starting to do weird things, moving things around, sometimes that happens, you're going to have to figure that out because it's not an excuse to turn in an unpretty document. Okay? And you'll be able to turn it in as either a Word document or a PDF. And so I highly recommend, so that things don't move around, is that you build it out in Word or whatever word processor you have, and then print it as a PDF and make sure that it still looks pretty. Because once it's a PDF, it doesn't move around anymore. It kind of makes it static. Any questions about this? Yes, sir.
Sometimes my Microsoft Word like messes up. So like if I do it in like Google Docs and then if I download it as like Microsoft Word, is that fine?
That's fine. I only take two file formats, PDF and Doc, or DocX. But you can use any word processor you want as long as you can get it in one of those two formats.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And it looks pretty. That's what I care about. All right. So the attendance quiz is already available for you. It's due by 5. It's in Canvas. Get that. Make sure you get that done today. And I will have the notebook reflection available for you by the end of the day. And it will be due on Friday as normal. So have a great rest of the week. Have a good Labor Day. Stay safe. And I will see you all next week.